Hello everybody, it's Aliyah Funchell and welcome to the Sports with Aliyah talk show. As you can tell, we are not on my actual set because Shocker Studios is closed for the holidays, but we made it work with this beautiful venue. I'm so excited for today's interview because it is with an athlete that goes to Columbia University, Scott Valentas, and it's very special to me for many reasons, but first of which is because I just got accepted into Columbia University. I will graduate from Wichita State in May and then start at Columbia in August. I will be studying sports management and have an emphasis in communication and journalism and just learn about the entire sports business. The second reason this interview is so special, as I will mention in the actual interview, but the very first person I've ever interviewed for my job with the Wichita Eagle was Scott, and I told him from the start, I was like, this is crazy that you're my first interview because Columbia University is my dream school. And now, fast forward to today, I'm an accepted student at Columbia University and interviewing Scott. So without further ado, here is my interview with Scott Valentas. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm so excited to have you on.
I'm glad that I could be here, and I'm glad we could make it work.
Yeah. So for the people at home that don't know this, my very first interview for the Wichita Eagle was actually with Scott, and I told him, I'm like, Columbia is my dream school. That's where I want to go. It's so crazy that I'm interviewing you because you are committed to play there.
Right.
So first of all, can you just give me a little bit of the background of your Capon days and kind of like how it went there for you?
Capon was awesome. I thought the school was great. The teachers were always super helpful, which is probably the most you could ask for in a school like that. But in athletics, our athletic director, John Cherney, he was awesome in helping the football program, the basketball program, all the programs. Like, we updated all of our facilities while he was there, and he's still doing more to change the program, and he's put it in a great direction. And like, for me personally, he always pushed me to do better, pushed me to do more, and pushed me through, and kind of helped me push myself to the next level to go play. And like, going into my senior year, or finishing my junior year, I thought, it's probably not going to happen. And then like the end of my junior year, I started getting offers, and then I got Columbia. And then before my senior year, I committed, and it was awesome that you were the first one to interview me, and you were like, oh, I really want to go there. And I was like, I would love everyone to go there because it is a great school, and
That's awesome.
Anyone who should apply. And just like having that, like, people like want to go to where you're going, or like there's a lot of people that want to go there and you actually get to go there. Like, that was one of the biggest things for me. It was like, oh my gosh, like, this is actually real. Like, it didn't ever feel real until I was actually up there going to school, and you're like, wow, I'm actually here, which is crazy.
That's awesome. I've always actually loved like the Capon students and student section, and I feel like they do a really good job at promoting you, like not just you but the team. Like, they make weekly videos, like hype up videos that are better than honestly something that I could put together. So do you think like that kind of helped too with getting your name out there? Like, how did that recruitment process go of getting your name out there, especially for a school like Columbia that's all the way in New York?
See, that's what I thought. I was like, man, how did Columbia hear about me? But like, as you start the recruiting process, like, it's a lot of you've got to just like cold hard email, like, hey, my name is Scott Valentas, I go to Cape Mount Carmel, and you know, sometimes you just kind of hope for a response, and if you don't get that response, then you're like, okay, well, let's move on, let's keep emailing people. And then you find camps, and you find just like meeting times to meet with people to kind of build that connection base. And just over time, it kind of started to build up. And then like, once you meet with those people, like with the KMC Student Union, or like the student leaders, like, they make videos about our team, and then that puts us out there more, so more people see us. And then the more people that see you, the more people that start talking about you. And so like, through that grapevine, like, you get one offer, and then another school starts talking to you, and then you get that offer, and then so on and so forth until you end up in New York City, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And did you always know that you wanted to pursue football in college, or when did you realize that that's something that you really wanted to do?
I was like back and forth on it, because I didn't think that I was good enough to ever go play football in college. Just like, there's so many people in in the United States that want to go play football in college, and 1% of them actually get to. And so like my like dreams were really diminished. But once like I got myself more out there, like I went up to Kansas City and started playing on a 7-on-7 team. That kind of helped me get more exposure. That's kind of when I started to like amp it up, like, oh, maybe I could do this. And then when it finally happened, that's when I was like, okay, I want to do this. And then that's when I decided that like, sure, I could go to a bigger school, but what's more important is that I have a plan for my future. And that's where Columbia came in and like helped me to get both of the things that I wanted, to play football, the game that I love, and to go to a prestigious school. So
yeah, and speaking of, you know, your dreams being diminished at one point for football, what about for academics? Did you ever think, wow, I could go to an Ivy League school, I can, you know, go to a great university all the way out in New York? Like, did you ever think you'd be able to go Ivy League?
No, I always dreamed of it, because I would hope that everyone dreams of something like that, but I never thought it was possible. I'm just a kid from Kansas. Like, just your average kid. There's really nothing that's like, oh, look at him. But it's just one of those things that I guess all the pieces fell into place, and I did the right things at the right time, and it just happened. And sometimes I'm like, how did this happen? It's awesome.
And we'll get into your success at Columbia here in a little bit, but let's just move forward to now. You're in New York City. What was the biggest culture shock for you for being there? Because Wichita is a lot different than New York.
Yeah, probably just the amount of people and the diversity. Because if you walk outside in Kansas, you usually hear just like English, but you'll walk outside and you'll hear like Italian, or you'll hear Russian, and you'll hear Spanish, and you're just like, just so many different things going on at one time, and there's no breaks ever. You'll hear sirens at 3 a.m, and you'll hear people screaming at 5 a.m, and you're like, what is happening outside my window? So that was kind of crazy, just to like not be peace and quiet all the time. So
yeah, that's definitely one too. And I feel like here everything is just so slow.
Yes.
And then there everything's so fast paced, because you know my whole family's from New York. I was born there. And just the mentality of a New Yorker is so different. So here I'm always like, let's go. And then everyone's just like, here is laid back and slow and just kind of go with the flow. So that's something that I'm excited to get back to, because I'm always busy. I always stay busy, and I'm very driven, and I'm not just like, okay, let's sit back and do nothing. So that's definitely something that I've realized about New York, and Wichita is very different. But okay, so moving on now for playing football. From what I've heard is you actually didn't start, and then after the season got going, you became one of their best players. So how did it start out, and how did you get to the point of having conference honors?
So at the beginning of the season, like my hopes to actually play were really low, because we came in, we had a shortened camp week. So usually our camp's like 3 weeks to 4 weeks, but this year we had a week and a half camp, which is the shortest it's ever been in 7 years. So
that's crazy.
Like we didn't get to know the material very well. We didn't get very many reps, and we had this thing called NSOP, which is like new student orientation program, so where you always have to be on campus, you always have to be doing new things to meet new people, and so that took us away from football. Yeah. And then once the practices actually started going and school started happening, some things happened. One of the linebackers got hurt, and so I moved up. And then the times that I did get to move up, like I got 2 or 3 reps with like second team, and I was like, I hope I made the best of them. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, and you just you got to brush it off, get yelled at, but then keep going. And then our starting backer went down with a broken leg in the Princeton game, and at the time I was like a second string, but for like third downs. Okay. So I went in on third downs while the backup went in for like everything else, and then like I made a lot of good plays, and then on to the next week, the backup had twisted his ankle, and my coach texted me that I was starting this week, and I was like, wow, okay. And I had a great game. I think I had like 7 tackles, and we beat the team like 54-6. Wow. And it it was incredible. I was like, wow, that just happened. And then from there, it just, kind of, I just wanted to get better every game, and then the season ended, and looking back, I thought, like, there's a lot of things, like, in game, I thought, wow, I'm doing awful. Like, there's just so many things that I messed up on and everything, but then I try to make it back with a different play. But overall, it ended well, and I'm glad that it did, because if it didn't, then I'd be really bummed with everything.
And you're being really humble when you said ended well, because you've actually set Columbia school records for tackles and everything like that. So it is absolutely insane that you went from not starting and being third and second string to then setting school records and getting those conference honors. So how do you kind of approach that? Do you think about like all of the pressure of that, or do you just go out there and go back to the basics and play your game?
Yeah, I just kind of went out there every time and was just like, I'm a freshman, and I'm out here, and if I mess up, then I mess up, and I'm gonna get yelled at, which is normal. But so there's the pressure, that kind of lessened the pressure, where I was just like, well, if I mess up, I'm gonna get yelled at no matter what. So I might as well just try and make a play and do it, because there's some points where I had no idea what I was doing. Like there's some times where I was just like, just went brain dead for a few plays, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing on this play. And that's when you just have to like, okay, well, just at least try to do something. Don't just do nothing. And just kind of, I kept that mindset going forward. So even if I knew what I was doing, but was like scared or nervous, to just do something, even if it's anything, just do something. So at least you have like a valid response to what were you doing. Well, I was trying to do this.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And then it just happened to, everything just fell right into place, and I couldn't ask for any more. So.
Yeah, and you're very far away from your family and then your friends back home. So has the team been like a second family to you? How is adjusting to being far from everything you've ever known, now in a big city playing D1 football?
Yeah, we're probably the closest group of people on campus, because from like my room, our dorm, like my two suite mates and my roommate, like that's just kind of like, we just have like an open door policy. Like if you want to come up, you just walk right in the door, no questions asked. We'll hang out, we'll do homework, just anything you want. Like, and that's been utilized by many guys. They just come up and we just sit down, we talk, or hey, do you have the homework? Can I get some help with the homework? Yeah, sure, come on in. And through that and through, we all tried rushing, and some of us liked it, some of us didn't. And through doing all that and doing all like the activities with that, we kind of formed a really strong bond with each other, and like just anything we go through together. So like if one person's feeling down, then we're all with that person, and we're going to pick that person back up. And like even when it's in football, like if one person's getting yelled at and hey, they're not yelling at you because they hate you, like you go over and you're like, hey, like pick it up, you're good, don't worry. Like that, especially for me, like that helps a lot, and I would hope it helps for a lot of other people. So I go and try to do it. It's just kind of what I like. I hope others hope it help others too. So
I love that. And then now you mentioned a lot about academics. How do you balance being in an Ivy League school and playing a D1 sport? I mean, I can't even handle some of my schoolwork sometimes, and I'm not a D1 athlete. So how do you find that balance and, stay on top of it?
At the beginning, I had no balance, none at all. And it kind of didn't start to kick into me, like, you need to figure out a balance, until midterms rolled around, and I was like, please, someone tell me what's going on. So that was always tough, because like I really wanted, like my focus was football, and I kind of lost sight of academics. And then midterms came around, and so like we have these few days before midterms where we just get to study, and me and my friends we have this study football room. We just went there, we just studied all day for 3 days, and got on top of everything, and grades came back, grades were good, and so once you kind of like realize, oh no, like I need to get it together like now, that's when I started like figuring out a schedule for myself, figuring out how to balance friends, football, like social life, academics, and everything, to where I was still succeeding in every single one, and not putting one more forth than the other. So
That's exactly what I've realized too, because even though I'm not an athlete, like having to cover the athletes being on their same schedule and everything and trying to have a social life, it's really hard to stay on top of your grades, but there is a way to do it, and people are always like, how do you do it? I'm like, I honestly don't know.
You have to.
Yeah, you just have to make it work. Yeah. That's awesome. But what would you say is your favorite thing about Columbia? If you remove athletics, like nothing about that, what is your favorite part about Columbia?
I'd have to say how fast it moves. Like if you get an Uber or a taxi and they're driving and like you really need to get somewhere, like they're gonna get you there in the fastest possible way, and that's something I love when people move quick, when they're efficient with their time. I'd say that's one of the best things about New York. Everything runs so efficiently there. So except maybe like if there's a holdup on the subway, maybe it's not as efficient. But yeah, there's the people are there to work hard, and everyone has to work hard, otherwise like things are going to close down, because it's like food. Like there's so many good food restaurants, because if you're not good, you'll just go to the one next door that is good, and
that's true.
They'll go out of business. So everything is great.
Good. Well, I'm glad you like it. And what advice, before we wrap up here, would you give to someone, A, wanting to get into an Ivy League school or a very prestigious school, or B, playing, football or a sport at the highest level in college? What would you say to someone that's wanting to pursue what seems like crazy dreams, but they're attainable?
Yes, definitely crazy dreams, because I had the same crazy dreams. But for like just wanting to go to an Ivy League school, like find your passion and like put all of your heart into it, because schools like that want to see that you have a passion and that you have a goal of getting somewhere. Like even if it's like anything, honestly. Like if your passion is shuffleboard, put all of your heart into it. Like they want to see that you know what you're doing, and like you have a goal in life and you're taking certain steps to achieve it. And that'll help you so much. Like, 'cause there's so many people there that are just like, wow, you are 19 and you've done this already? That is crazy. But it's just because they put their whole heart into it and they knew what they wanted to do. But with that, don't limit yourself. Like, try some things. If you don't like it, you don't have to keep trying it, but at least you tried it. At least you said, yes, I tried that and I experienced that, and now I know going forward what I like and what I don't like.
Yeah.
And for like football, like, just give it a shot. Like even if it's not D1, if it's D2, if it's D3, whatever it is, just give it a shot, because you never know what could come out of it. You could form the best friendships that lead you to creating the best company in the world. Like you should always give it a shot. And if you don't like it, there's always the case where you transfer or you stop, but at least you know that you tried it, you didn't like it. And that was the biggest thing for me. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to do it, but I tried it, I liked it, I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm so glad that I did, and I wouldn't change that for the world.
Awesome. Well, that was very inspiring. I could have used that advice 6 weeks ago when I was applying to Columbia, but I actually agree, because when I met with Columbia, they said that, yes, they value test scores and GPA, but that is not the main thing they value. It's about, one, work experience or passion, and I think that's definitely something that anyone can take away, whether it's passion within your sport or within your major, that you can find great success with that. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, and I'm so excited to be out in New York with you next year.
Thank you. I hope we have many lunches together.
Yes.
So it should be fun.
All right, guys, so actually, before we wrap up, we are going to do some rapid-fire questions. It is not sports-related. It's literally about anything. So just tell me what first comes to your mind. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. If you could have any superpower, what would you have, and why?
The ability to read minds, so I could always predict what's going to come next, or what I should do. Interesting.
If you could be any animal, what would you identify as, and why?
Probably a lion, just because they're very just like there. Like, it's like, I'm not moving. You're moving.
Go Lions.
Very powerful,
right?
Yes. I like it.
If you could have lunch with anyone in the world, who would it be and why? It could be anyone living or dead, or even someone out of a book or a movie.
I'd probably have lunch with... Ooh, that's a tough one. Wow. I'd probably have to have lunch with like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, just to see what's going on in their mind. Like,
Yeah.
holy moly. Can't
Yeah.
imagine they're ever not thinking. So
That's awesome. And actually, I'm going to ask you a few questions that I've asked the basketball team at Wichita State, but I'd love to see what an Ivy Leaguer would have to say about that. So, is water wet?
Water is wet because when H2O molecule is attached to another H2O molecule, then it becomes wet.
Okay, that's a good one. Do fish get thirsty?
No. I wouldn't imagine. I hope. I don't think so.
And how many holes does a straw have?
2.
Are you sure? But what if it goes all the way through? Is that 1 hole or 2? I'm just playing devil's advocate right now.
I guess that would be 1 technically. Yeah.
But then what if you close one side of the hole? Then there's still 1 hole.
Oh, that's tough. Wow. I'm gonna have to go with 2.
2.
Final answer,
Okay,
yeah.
good. That's what I would say
Yeah.
too. But I just like playing devil's
Because if
advocate.
you like bend them up, then you have 2.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live?
Probably south of Italy.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, that wraps up the rapid fire questions. Again, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was hilarious.